I'm back! Hello trainers, my name is Professor, this is my assistant Ditto, and today we're going to be talking about Sylveon again. But unlike previous videos where I try to redesign the poor thing or where I talk about how much it doesn't fit in with the other evolutions, I'm standing by that by the way, we're going to be taking a look at the history of Sylveon, some speculation on where it came from, how dangerous these flesh ribbons really are, and is Sylveon actually worthy of being called a Dragon Slayer? Let's find out. Before I get started, I have something to show you. Wow, look at that. It's the book that I wrote. That's right. I, Professor, the funny man that lives in your phone, wrote a freaking book. It's a parody of isekai, if you're familiar with that genre of anime. Basically, someone gets magic to another world and they get to be super powerful. Except rather than going to just a fantasy world, the main character becomes president of the United States. Hijinks ensue. It's got my brand of comedy, but also some very heartfelt moments, and it really examines what it would mean to be transported to another world without any say in the matter whatsoever. Be sure to pick up a copy today. It has my picture on the back, and every single sale goes to making this channel better and bringing you bigger and better content. Now, without further ado, let's get on to Sylveon.
Longtime fans of the channel know I'm not the biggest fan of Sylveon. No duh, Professor, you've only got a video on this platform with millions of views where you talk about it. I know, shut up, Ditto. Regardless, today we're reviewing Sylveon and its history, as well as figuring out once and for all if it's really the nuisance I claim it is, or if I've just been leading everyone on all this time, starting with Sylveon's backstory. Originally introduced in Pokemon X and Y, longtime fans of the Pokemon series were incredibly excited to get a new evolution, which for all my new trainers means evolution of the Pokemon Eevee. We didn't know it at the time, but as of the time of writing this video, Sylveon would be the final evolution we ever got, leaving us with 4 really iconic evolutions, 4 okay evolutions, and then Sylveon. I'll let you guys figure out which is which in the comments. At first glance, it's obvious why Sylveon stands out so much compared to the other evolutions. For starters, the eyes. Those big, blue, terrifying insect-like eyes. And I'm not just being a jerk by saying that. The eyes are literally the same color and style as most bug types, so not sure what you were going for on that one, Game Freak. Another, and arguably the most iconic thing about Sylveon, are those flesh ribbons. Yes, I said flesh ribbons. Okay, so they're definitely covered in a thin layer of fur, but that doesn't change the fact that Sylveon is rocking some cutesy tendrils that it uses to influence the minds of others. Yes, I'm not kidding. Sylveon is spoken of in almost every Pokédex entry as being capable of influencing the emotional state of other Pokémon and even people. Now, to be fair, they do suggest it's to diffuse confrontational situations, but come on, there's gotta be at least one malicious Sylveon out there. The reason for this is Sylveon, unlike most of the other evolutions, evolves when you forge a solid bond of friendship with your Eevee, so long as it knows a fairy-type move. Unfortunately, this means that certain trainers have lost out on Vaporeons, Jolteons, and Umbreons, all because they thought Baby Doll Eyes was a good move to have on hand in case they encountered a Dragon-type trainer. Speaking of which, I actually had this very thing happen to me during my very first playthrough of Pokemon Shield. I was leveling up this Eevee I'd found because I wanted an Espeon, because hairless purple psychic cats are doper than a fresh-cooked meal after a hard day's work. To my surprise, my Eevee began evolving on its own sooner than expected, and despite being the closest thing to a real Pokemon Professor the world has, I let it evolve to see what I was getting. I think at the time I assumed it would be like Pokemon Go, where it was a coin toss on which of the original 3 evolutions I'd get. But oh, what horror I felt seeing that pink monster smiling and looking back at me. From that moment on, and I don't know if it was just the game's AI not knowing what the heck to do in S.H.I.E.L.D., but that Sylveon got in my way numerous times. I'd be sitting there, trying to have a cute moment with my awesome ice hedgehogs and dragons, and freaking Sylveon would jump in front of them and steal the ball I was throwing around, or get in front of them the moment I decided to whistle and try and get one of my other Pokemon's attention. Freaking annoying, man, I swear. Interestingly, this seems to be a real-world problem that other players have faced, especially among younger fans who have no idea that you can cancel an evolution. It's for reasons like that that Sylveon has become a bit of a hot topic in Pokemon since the time of X and Y. On one hand, you've got fans of Sylveon claiming it just wants to be loved and getting a Sylveon should be seen as an unexpected blessing, while on the other side, you've got everyone else who just wanted a cool night cat and feel cheated out of it. This is a bit random, but I also want to mention Pokemon Violet's Pokedex entry about Sylveon, which calls its tendrils, quote, feelers, while also mentioning that it uses them to attack its opponent's weak spots. In other words, it's the perfect Pokemon for people who use Twitter unironically. Don't get the wrong idea, though. Sylveon isn't this unstoppable mind controller that no one can stand against. Quite the opposite, actually. Sylveon may hold a type advantage against most dragon types, but they are embarrassingly slow for something that's supposed to be fluttering and prancing about everywhere. And, keeping up with dragons. I've gone against Sylveon players in the card game and in the video games, but let's start with the video games because screw you, it's my video. I always laugh whenever I see someone using Sylveon because it's usually a clear indicator that I'm about to ruin some kid's day. Sylveon's weakest stat is its speed, and as all of you know, the higher your speed stat is, the more likely you are to go first. By the way, Sylveon's speed stat is 60, which isn't bad but not good when you're going up against Pokemon like Salamence, which can learn Iron Tail and has a modest speed stat of 100. But since I know most of you watching this video play casually and none of that means anything to you, I'll tell you this. When's the last time you went up against a Sylveon and actually thought, oh no, the pink one, there goes my whole team? Answer is probably never. In the card game, Sylveon is a whole other monster, and I think this is where its reputation as a dragon killer really comes into play. For current players, you'll know that fairy-type cards no longer exist. May they rest in pieces, where they belong. But this is not always how it was. A couple years ago, when I was fresh into the Pokemon TCG scene, rolling up against a Sylveon GX deck usually meant I was in for a bad time. I don't want to relive my trauma too much, so I'll leave it by saying that it had a mechanic where it could put 2 of your benched Pokemon back into your hand, which is really annoying for someone like me who likes using support Pokemon on my bench that could power up my active Pokemon. If you don't know why that's cancer, then I'll phrase it this way. Imagine you're building a house and you're in a competition with a rival house builder across the road. You both want to get your houses built before the other so you can get them on the market and hopefully score enough money to cover your expenses up to this point. But as you're laying down your final bricks and screwing in that last screw, out of nowhere your opponent mutters some magical something or other, and 2 sides of your house disappear back into piles of bricks, sheets of drywall, and unpoured concrete. You have to start all over, and now you're incredibly behind your opponent, who just sits there and laughs as they finish building their house before you can even reach for a drill. That's basically what it was like going up against Sylveon GX, and that's only one version of it. I don't want to get too far into it, but Sylveon's almost always been some kind of gimmicky Pokemon card, doing things that won't outright defeat an opponent, but will certainly make them consider conceiving the match. But what about in the Pokemon universe, I hear you asking, as you put off cleaning your room and hope your mom doesn't notice? She will, by the way. Well, we've gotten pretty good looks at Sylveon over the course of the anime, but strangely enough, I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than it took Serena way too freaking long to get hers. Remember when I accidentally birthed mine shortly after getting my Eevee? Yeah, there should be way more Sylveons in the Pokemon universe than what we see in the show. In fact, I have a theory that Sylveons are basically an invasive species in the Pokemon universe. Think about it. Most people are trying to befriend their Pokemon, trying to be as friendly as possible because not only does that mean your Pokemon can tough out game-ending attacks so you don't get sad, yes, that is a real Pokemon game mechanic, but it also helps ensure your black hole farting Gardevoir doesn't tear you down at a molecular level just because you forgot to feed it. In other words, befriend your Pokemon. What I'm saying is most people out there are nice to their Pokemon, especially their Eevees, because that's just what you do. Remember, you need a high friendship level to get some of the other evolutions too. But since Sylveons happen into existence more naturally than most people think, there's gotta be hundreds, if not thousands, of wild Sylveons released by their trainers who got something they weren't looking for. Think of the situation a few years back in Florida, where people were releasing their pet anacondas into the wild because they got too big, and now Florida has a real invasion of the snakes problem on their hands, to the point where the giant slithering monsters are eating everything that gets too close, even smaller alligators and rare bird species. I'm not saying Sylveons are going to constrict around their prey or anything like that, but come on. A bunch of salty fairy dox fog things that can control your emotions with just a single touch, running around everyone's backyard, able to evolve to exist in tropical and freezing temperatures thanks to their EV biology? Yeah, I don't think people in the Pokemon universe like Sylveons very much either. All of that being said, I can see a few situations where Sylveons can come in handy. For example, as security Pokemon. Think about it. If you've got a Pokemon that can instantly and peacefully diffuse confrontational situations with just a touch, I would have 4 of these babies posted up at every train station and security terminal in the world. Heck, if I was a humble corner store owner prone to Karen invasions, I would use at least one of these things behind the counter to help calm down any angry customers or would-be robbers. Who could say no to that cute face? Besides yours truly. In conclusion, Sylveon is a pink ribbon monster that likes to manipulate your emotions and tends to just evolve into existence without being told to do so. It's also one of the cutest Pokemon in existence. There, I said it. The pink ribbons, the bows, even the tendrils, or feelers, if you want to call them that, it all amounts to a really cute and unique design as far as Pokemon go. I do stand by what I've said in the past, where I think it doesn't fit very well with the other evolutions. All of the other evolutions have a very distinct head shape, eye size, and overall feel to them. Sylveon tends to stand out like a sore thumb. It doesn't look like it evolves from Eevee, and for that reason, I don't think it looks very good, especially on lineups. I'm definitely in the minority there, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, I want to be clear here. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from getting a Sylveon. If you're a fan of the Pokemon and you want to tell me how much I suck in the comments, please feel free to do so. I'm not here to tell you what you should and should not play with or should not collect, but I am telling you that of all the Pokemon out there, Sylveon is just not the best, and I don't think it's the quote-unquote dragon killer that people claim it is.
If you want to support me beyond liking and subscribing, then pick up a copy of my book, President Troll and the Assault on America. It's available on Amazon now. Make sure you're subscribed and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye!